विशृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितैयदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May we hear auspicious words from the ears. While engaged in sacrifices, karma yoga, may we see auspicious things everywhere with the eyes. While praising the gods and goddesses with steady limbs, may we enjoy a life that is beneficial to gods in tune with nature. And let us seek blessings from Indra, the Lord of all gods and goddesses, Pushan, the supreme, rich, all-knowing God of earth, Garuda as Vayu, the fast-moving, removing all evils, Brihaspati, the teacher of Indra, and all gods to ensure our welfare. With that, the Mandukya starts with these shlokas, which we chant together again. Om ityetadaksharamidam sarvam tasyopavyakyanam bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkarayeva yacchanyattrikalaatitam tadapi omkarayeva sarvam hetad brahma ayamatma brahma सोयमात्मा चतुष्पात् जागरितस्थानो बहिष्प्रज्ञः सप्तांग एकोनविंशतिमुखः स्थूलभुक् वैश्वानरः प्रथमपादः स्वप्नस्थानोऽन्तः प्रज्ञः सप्तांग एकोनविंशतिमुखः प्रविविक्तभुक्तैजसः द्वितीयः पादः यत्र सुप्तो न कंचन कामं कामयते न कंचन स्वप्नं पश्यति तत्सुषुप्तं सुषुप्तस्थान एकीभूत प्रज्ञानघन एवानन्दमयो ह्यानन्दमुक्तो मुख प्राज्ञस्तृतीयः पादः एष सर्वेश्वरः एष सर्वज्ञः एषोऽन्तर्यामी एष योनिः सर्वस्य प्रभवाप्ययौ हि भूतानाम् आन्तप्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं नोभयतप्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनं न प्रज्ञं नाप्रज्ञम् अदृश्यम् अव्यवहार्यम् अग्राह्यम् अलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्मप्रत्ययसारम् प्रपञ्चोपशमं शान्तं शिवमद्वैतं चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः सोऽयमात्माध्यक्षरमोङ्कारः अधिमात्रम् पादामात्राः पात्राश्च मादा अकार बुकारो मकार इति जागरितस्थानो वैश्वानरोकार प्रथमा मात्रा आप्तेरादिमत्वात् आप्नोति हवा सर्वान् कामान् आदिश्च भवति य एवं वेद स्वप्नस्थानस्तैजसः उकारः द्वितीया मात्रा उत्कर्षात् उभयत्वात् उत्कर्षति ह वै ज्ञानसन्ततिं समानश्च भवति न अस्य ब्रह्मवित्कुले भवति य एवं वेद सुषुप्तस्थानप्राज्ञः मकारः तृतीया मात्रा मितेरपीतेर्वा मिनोति हवा इदगुं सर्वम् अपीतिश्च भवति एवं वेद Amatraschatartho vyavaharyah prapanchopashamah Shivaha Advaita eva Munkara Atmaiva Samvishatyatmanatmanam Ya evam Veda. Iti Mandukya Upanishad Samapta. So, a quick summary about the Vedas. Vedas essentially coming from a word Vidignane. It is the treasure of all knowledge. It has the Gnanakanda, the Uttaramimamsa, forming Upanishad, science of the Vedas, and Puramimamsa, the Upasana and Karma Kandas. That is the technology of the Vedas. The Upanishads deal with two main topics which we have to recognize when we study every Upanishad. Mandukya is the smallest Upanishad. One is the search for happiness, another is quest for reality. These are the two main topics involved. Science also had the objective as quest for reality. So over the 400 years, modern science has unraveled the structure and laws of this physical universe. What is it? Energy as the structure. Everything is made out of energy, because made out of molecules, atoms, protons, neutrons, fundamental particles, they're all made out of energy. Then we have the laws that govern them, the classical mechanics, that is the Newtonian mechanics, and we have quantum mechanics, also the theory of relativity. It is something like, when we study the human system, we study anatomy and physiology of the body, both the structure and the laws. So similarly, our ancient masters have been able to unravel the structure of the whole creation. Modern science only the physical aspect, the energy, but it has not dealt with the prana, the life entities, and the dimensions of mind, emotions, intellect, everything. It's here that the Upanishads give us a broader understanding of the whole creation. There are two models that have been presented. One is everything is nothing but chitta. According to Patanjali Yoga Shastra, we have chitta as the basic of the whole creation. And that which is beyond is the pure consciousness. But however, in one of the Upanishads, it is dealt with as prana. Prana Shavade Vashay Sarvam Tridive Yat Pratishtitam. That is the Prashnopanishad. So, the structure of the entire creation is nothing but mind or prana. And one end of this is the energy, that is the physical world. Then what are the laws that govern them? This is the trifold law of the universe. That is Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. That is the ever-changing dimension of reality. They are called as Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. These are the names of this Trinity. That which is beyond is pure consciousness, which is beyond the Trinity. So this has been brought forth in this Panchakosha model. Annamaya Kosha is the physical world. Then we have the subtle body, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya Koshas, and the causal body is the Anandamaya Kosha. This we have seen. So that which is beyond the Panchakoshas is our original state, Paramatman, the self of all of us. It's also the Brahman, and that is the base of all creation. That is the state which is Sat, Chit, Ananda Swarupa. And it is infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, power, and freedom. It is beyond space, time, causation, Manabuddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. So with that, we continue to understand the four mantras, and now we have come to the fifth mantra, which the last time we dealt with. Yatra supto na kanchana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyate tat sushuptam sushuptasthana eki bhuta pragnana ghana evanandamayo hyananda bhakteto mukaha pragnaha trutiya padaha. Sushupthana, that is the state of deep sleep. Sleep without dream and having no wakeful consciousness there. So it is the sleep consciousness. What characterizes the sleep consciousness, Sushupti, is it is Eki Bhuta. That means all differentiations of the seer, seen, and the process of seeing, the Tripati has become undifferentiated. They have become one. But it has to be clearly understood that merger is not vanishing, but going into the potential forum. That the mind has vanished. Mind has not become zero. Prana has not become zero. It is in the Abhyakta forum or the potential forum. Therefore, it is called Yaki Bhuta. Then the second is Prajnana Ghana. It is the causal state. Prajnana Ghana is merger of cognitions. Our dimensions have been merged together. Vesti and Samishti cognitions become Abhyakta. So in this, it is called the unmanifest or the Abhyakta that has been mentioned. And it's a mass of knowledge. So it's also Anandamaya. That since there is no differentiation, there the cognition has merged together, therefore that is Ananda. So in this state, in the Anandamaya Kosha, the Triputinasha has happened, but everything is in the potential forum. Whether it is a deep sleep or samadhi, both these things come into this region, and it is a state of immense happiness. Because happiness is a state of silence, we have understood. When the mind is resolved, gone to potential forum, it is the experience through the Karana Sharira. Therefore, in Sushupti, we are not aware at the time of Sushupti through registration going on. We know that the registration is going on because when we get up, at a very sound sleep, only after waking up. So it is Ananda Bhuk. It is the registration of Ananda very much there. Registration of that happiness is very much there in the Sushupti dimension. Then the aspect is Prajna. It is the Prajna, a state of infinite happiness. It's Ishvara. From Samashti viewpoint, Ishvara is all knowledge. From the Prakarshena Agnaha, that totally blissfully ignorant. That's another dimensions have been put for Prajna. So, Upanishads tell us that happiness is silence. Silence is peace. Peace is Ananda. So that is the essence of the Upanishad is there in the Anandamaya Kosha. Looking at the scientific dimensions, Sushupti, the deep sleep, it is known as the non-REM sleep. Dream state is called as the REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. So we have been able to understand in modern science that happiness manifests in the brain. There are certain regions of the brain where happiness is shown. And the region is called hypothalamus, nucleus accumbens, and septum. These are now the pleasure regions of the brain. And in the state of happiness and ananda, there is going to be the release of neurotransmitters, endorphins, and dopamine that result in the feelings we know as happiness and joy. So polysomnography research has shown, a sleep study, that it is a non-invasive procedure to diagnose sleep disorders and dimensions of that. And you can see the fMRI studies in which the non-REM sleep, you can see that only in this basic ganglion there is the changes, whereas in the REM sleep there is a lot of activity going on, much better. And this is the normal sleep and the REM sleep. REM sleep is the swapna or the dream state. You can see that one dimension. And Sushupta Sthana, Chetomukaha is the other dimension, that part. The dreamer has to go through the sleeper to come to wakeful phase. When every day we sleep, first we go into the Sushupti. Then we wake up in the dream world. and the dream world goes back to Sushupti. Again, we get up in the dream state. Therefore, the sort of platform is Sushupti, from where the wakefulness comes, goes. Dream comes, goes. Dream comes, goes. So, in that process, the earlier Sharira has to go to the other Sharira. The Sthula Sharira has to go away, and this Sukshma Sharira comes. The Sukshma Sharira will go back to Sushupti, and then from there again, the Sthula Sharira will come. And this goes on automatically, and therefore it is Cheto Mukha. It is the state from where the different states start coming up. Dimension has been put forth. And therefore, the stages of sleep has been beautifully understood today. And normally, when we go to sleep, falling asleep, eye movements slow, overall loss in awareness, thought, responsiveness, and easily it can be awakened. Then you go to stage 2, deeper sleep than stage 1. Here, high voltage, low waves begin appearing in the EEG pattern. Then you go to stage 3, deep sleep, deeper than stage 2. More high voltage, high amplitude, slow waves appear in EEG. In the stage 4, deepest stage of sleep, lot of high voltage and low, slow waves in EEG. And from there you wake up. When you wake up to the dream world, that is the REM sleep. What happens in stage 5? Muscles cannot move. Most people awaken from REM sleep report dreaming dimension. So this is the whole phase. And from the REM sleep, again you go back to deep sleep and come back. And this continues dimension. So the waves which are normally when we are about to sleep, awake and active beta waves are there. Then the peak consciousness and cognition, amares, and relaxed alpha waves will come. Then the deep sleep slowly start going into the delta waves. These are the things that have been found. So what happens is that the normal beta waves and alpha waves go into the theta, and then the delta waves. That is 1 to 4 hertz that goes on. That is about the Sushupti that we first talked about. Then Sushupti is further described into this 6th verse. Esha sarveshwaraha, esha sarvagnaha, esha antaryami, esha yonihi, sarvasya prabhavapyayo hi bhutanam. Said. Esha sarveshwaraha. Anandamaya Kosha is Sarveshwara. That means Lord of all. Sarvagnaha. It is the total knowledge. Antaryami. It's indwelling. That is the causes state for all creation and destruction. Nidra and all memory stores have been put forth in this direction. And it is the samashti perspective, it is the antaryami, indwelling. Karana of the whole universe. That is potential nama rupa is Ishvara. Causal state for all creation and destruction. Its ocean is another name for water. So water under certain condition, Namarupa condition. Then Samashti is omniscient. That is the Karana, the causal state is Upadana Karana and Nimitta Karana. Upadana Karana is the material cause. Just like energy is at the base of this entire physical world, the Sushupti is the root cause of the entire world. That is Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, and Annamaya Koshas. Everything is done by the thing. That is Upadana Karana. And there is Nimitta Karana. That is the intelligent cause. What is the difference between Nimitta and this Upadana Karana? You may know that the entire thing is made out of this material. But you must also know how to bring that. You may know that this is made out of wood. But how to use the wood to bring about this table is the intelligent cause. That is the Nimitta Karana. And it is the Prabhavapya hui Bhutanam. It is the one from where Srishti Sthiti Laya starts coming up. It is Sarvagna. Sarvagna is Upadana Karana and this thing. For example, a carpenter, has to have intelligent skill also to create a desk. So omniscient is the knowledge, omnipotent is the skill, and Ishvara has both. And therefore, in Sushupti, we have both these dimensions put forth there. And in this Avyakta phase, is this Avyakta a single phase? Is a single state? No. The Avyakta or the unmanifest phase can be many. Look at all the different layers of silence. We have coma, we enter into a deep hibernation, anesthetic unconscious, epileptic unconscious, alcoholic unconscious. All these come under as Avyakta phase. These are all the pathological conditions. But going into the deep sleep and the Jada Samadhi, hypnotic trance, and the drug-induced silence are the next phase. Then comes the Samadhi. 8 types of Samadhi that Patanjali talks about. Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Spitanigamat, Sampragnataha, Tadanyaha, Sampragnataha. All these things become 8 types. And therefore, essentially, we have 3 states of our life. One is the Jagrat, second is the Swapna, third is the Avyakta, in which you have the Sushupti. So these are the 3 states that have been identified. And Samadhi, as Patanjali has talked about, has various dimensions of Samadhi. Samadhi is also not a single state. Samadhi could be different. Therefore, the dimension of Samadhi is put forth under what is called as Smriti. Patanjali beautifully describes the 5 states of mind, 5 modifications of mind. Pramana, Viparaya, Vikalpa. They are the manifest. That the Triputi is there and there is in the manifest form. We have the right knowledge, we have the wrong knowledge, we have the random thoughts. Vikalpa, Viparaya and Pramana. They are all normally in the wakeful phase. And the same thing can happen even in the Nidra also. They are also in the Swapna Prapancha. When you have the dream state, you can have the right knowledge or you may have a wrong knowledge, you may have random thoughts, can all be there in the dream state. It's all in the Vyakta phase or the manifest form. But the Avyakta phase is the Nidra and the Smriti. Nidra is the deep sleep and Smriti is the whole memory store which contains all the Samadhis and others. So, therefore, Patanjali very clearly has told that Nidra or Sushupti is not the abhava of the pratyaya. It is the abhava pratyaya, alambana vritti nidra. It's a state in which it is a vritti. That also a vritti, it is not absence of vritti. It has to be understood properly. So therefore, Patanjali describes, apart from the Sushupti, that is which is beyond Sushupti, those are all the Samadhi. That is Smriti. Anubhota Vishya Asampramosha Smriti. Whatever we have experienced is all stored. And that is the Smriti that talked about. So, Smriti is the memory store. And that shows up as Prarabdha Karma and Sanchita Karma when we leave this body. And each is featured by Tamas, Rajas and Sattva. And that which is beyond Gunas is Shuddha Sattva comes up. So, Dhyana leads to Samadhi, as most of you know. There is a jump in consciousness. And the jump in the physical world, like the quantum jump of electrons, it moves from one orbit to another orbit. Similarly, in the mind, it jumps from one level to the higher level. What is the result of that? There is an expansion from one level to the next. There is bliss, there is expansion, there is knowledge and the power. Unparalleled bliss of Samadhi is the one that. So what are all the types of Samadhi? He talked about. Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Spitanigamat, Sampragnataha. Vitarka, Anugata, Sampragnat Samadhi. Vichara, Anugata, Sampragnat Samadhi. Ananda, Anugata, Smita, Anugata, Sampragnat Samadhi. Then, Virama Pratyas, Abhyasa Purvaha, Samskara Shesho, Anyaha. That is the other dimension. That is the Nirvitarka. Vitarka, Nirvitarka. Sampragnata, Asampragnata. Vichara, Nirvichara. All these things are there. Therefore, there are 8 types of Samadhis he has now identified. Higher the Samadhis, greater is the bliss, greater is the power. And purification of the samskaras and equanimity starts coming up. So, understanding the brain activity, EEG, fMRI, and polysomnography research has brought great dividends and greater understanding which are in tune with the total understanding that has been talked about in the Mandukya in our ancient scriptures. So, Look at the various levels. The gamma waves are the highest frequency level. These are involved in higher processing tasks as well as cognitive function. Gamma waves are important for learning, memory, information processing. It is thought that 40 hertz gamma wave is important for the binding of our senses in regard to perception and are involved in learning new material. So it has been found that individuals who are mentally challenged and have learning disabilities tend to have lower gamma activity than average. So the entire frequency range is 40 hertz to 100 hertz. So this is the dimension that started. Then we come to beta waves, 12 hertz to 40 hertz. These are known as high frequency, low amplitude brain waves that are commonly observed in all of us while we are awake. They are involved in our conscious thought, logical thinking, and several other things. Then comes still slower waves, the alpha waves, that is 8 to 12 hertz. Alpha brainwaves are considered slow brainwave activity with oscillations that range from 8 to 12 hertz. The alpha wave is typically produced by right hemisphere of the brain. Individuals that they relax with closed eyes and tend to exhibit more alpha waves. Anti-transcendental meditation has shown that it is the alpha waves that are most important. So think of the alpha brain wave as playing the important role in helping people calm down. Then alpha brain waves, what do they do, has been understood to a great extent. Most people associate alpha waves with calmness and relaxing with our eyes. Calmness, creativity, balanced mood, everything has been put. TM has shown all number of these dimensions which comes up. Then we have still slower ones, the theta waves, 4 to 8 hertz. Theta brain waves are considered brain waves that oscillate between 4 to 8 hertz. This brainwave rhythm may be dominant among children, individuals with ADHD and others. Then we have the delta waves. Delta wave is a typical high amplitude brain wave found in humans. Delta waves have a frequency from 1 to 4 hertz, and this occurs when you are in the deep sleep stage. So these are the different waves, wave patterns that have been recognized in our polysomnography research. So we have the highest, the gamma, about 25 hertz, then 12 to 25 beta, alpha, theta, and delta. That's the dimension that have been talked about in that. So these are all the things that have been identified. The delta, the slowest, then we have the theta, then the alpha, then the beta, then mu also can be put forth, and the lambda. So the question comes, what about things which are beyond sleep, the samadhi? A lot of research has undergone to understand the brain waves in samadhi. Between gamma and lambda brainwave states exist a higher level gamma state that's called hypergamma. Hypergamma brainwaves exist within the highest range of gamma, around 100 hertz range. So EEG brain frequency chart is shown here. These are the beta waves, then we have the alpha waves, the theta waves, delta waves, as we saw earlier. And lambda state creates synchronization of the left and the right brain hemisphere. This state is sometimes experienced as a wonderful state of happiness, aha state, samadhi states that have been put forth. Lambda waves are very high frequency brain waves associated with wholeness and integration. They are also associated with mystical and out of body experience. Frequency is 100 to 200 at lambda waves. So such waves have been shown here, how very, very high frequency, very, very small amplitude waves have been put forth. So lambda waves are rarely seen in most people, but are present in the minds of great yoga masters of Tibetan monks who can sit for hours meditating. Then we have the other side, epsilon waves, or very, very slow frequency brain waves associated with wholeness and integration. The frequency is of below 5 hertz. The character, the epsilon state of consciousness is a very low frequency brainwave. Most ECG devices are not able to measure the frequency less than 0.5 hertz. So this is the state yogi goes into when they achieve suspended animation. In this state, Western medical doctors will no longer perceive a heartbeat, respiration, or pulse. So epsilon state, like lambda state, also shows synchronization of the left and the right brain hemispheres along with feelings of this thing. So this is an epsilon wave, a typical epsilon wave that have been shown there. Very, very low frequency waves. So these are all further high amplitude, low frequency waves. And these are identified in fMRI studies and have been put forth and have been shown how it looks. So epsilon waves on the lower side, lambda waves on the higher side. Gamma waves and lambda waves for higher samadhis, and the epsilon waves, the other one, what we call as the nirvikalpa samadhi and savikalpa samadhi. So the dimensions can be put forth like this thing. So what characterizes each is powers, knowledge, freedom, and bliss. And Patanjali says this can all be done through sayamas. By doing sayamas, you can get these things. So in the third chapter, in Patanjali, Vibhuti-pada, he describes the different siddhis. And the objective is to unravel the laws at different levels of subtleties. So what is the objective of Patanjali showing that if you do this, you will get this, if you do that, you get this siddhi? It is understanding of the higher laws that come up at the level of causality. So understanding the laws of physics helped us to meet the challenge of nature. Technological advancements for health and happiness, harmony and peace that we have been able to do. Similarly, understanding the laws of the higher things will give us greater things. So siddhis, or it may be called as attainments or accomplishment. Most people get lured and get lost in them as supernatural powers and use them for getting name, fame, power, money, etc. But the great seers and Patanjali, real yogis of purified sattva, do the needful the right way. So that's how one has to overcome the ego and the associated name, fame, and others. We have a classic example in Maharashtra. We have Changaladeva. He did Hatha Yoga and then tremendous siddhis he got. And he was able to control even a lion. And he heard there is another great saint, Sant Gnandev. And he said, I want to show him my great power. And with that ego, which has come up in him, with big name and fame, everything for which he was known, he wanted to show him off to Sant Gnandev and his sister. And Sant Gnandev is sitting there on a compound there, and Changaladeva comes riding a lion. He starts coming with all the ego, with ahankara. When he starts coming nearer and nearer, the great saint Sant Gnandev, he was laughing to himself. How people with great siddhis get into this ego shot and others. But he wanted to show. So what happened? The whole compound wall started moving towards Changaladeva. Then he was floored, Changaladeva. And that is the great dimension that start coming up. Fully. Battery on charger. On ಮಾಡಿ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. So, modern science parapsychology has been the study of such psychic phenomena. They have been classified into ESP, extrasensory perception. In that contain telepathy, precognition, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, psychometry. Other paranormal claims, for example, related to near-death experience, synchronicity, apparitional experiences, etc. And these are the ones that are put forth under parapsychology. Telepathy is to converse. I know what is happening to you and I can send my thoughts to you. Telepathy. Precognition. An event is going to happen, you know that it's happening before that. So all these things have been found. But in the scientific community, parapsychology is considered to be a pseudoscience. So it never gets published in mainstream science journals. Most papers about parapsychology are published in a small number of niche journals. because parapsychology has been criticized for continuing investigation despite being unable to provide convincing evidence. The rigor which is needed is not available. Multicentric trials and repeatability have not been found. Therefore, one of the great masters, philosopher Mario Inge, has described parapsychology as a pseudoscience paragon. Parapsychological theories are viewed as pseudo-scientific by the scientific community, as they are incompatible with well-established laws of science. Laws of science, everything deals with only physical thing. So if you want to show this, you must have the triggers of showing double-blind studies and repeatability, multicentric trials, and everything that have not been able to establish. Since there is no repeatable evidence of PSI, the field is often regarded as pseudoscience. Then why it's called as pseudoscience? Because parapsychology relies on an ill-defined ontology and typically shuns exact thinking. Second, the hypotheses and theories of parapsychology have not been proven and are in bad shape. There are no repeatability experiments and others. Extremely little progress has been taken place in parapsychology and poor research problems. So, while in parts of parapsychology there are attempts to use the methods of science, there are also unscientific areas. What about Patanjali Yoga Sutra? Patanjali Yoga Sutra takes you to much higher level than what all is talked about in parapsychology. And we have to show concrete evidences of siddhis. Then only it will be accepted. So experts in modern psychology
Guruji, we lost connection.
We shall continue dialogue while it gets ready. Anybody who would like to comment?
So, Namaste Didi. I think we lost connection of Guruji.
ನೋಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ Patanjali in these sutras talk about the various dimensions set on different objects, different events, different processes have been talked about. And this has been brought forth in this. So when you do Sanyama on Parinamatraya, then you got the past, present, and future. The complete knowledge of what is going to happen in future, what has happened in the past can be done. This forms the whole basis of astrology. Then when the people do the Shabdartha Pratyaya, then you got the knowledge of the whole material world. So like that, each one of them. When you do the Sanyama on the Samskara, then you know the previous birth. When you do Samskara on the Pratyaya, Parachitta Gnanam, you understand what is happening in some other's mind, what is happening. So if you do Sanyama on Karya Rupa Sanyama, that is, you look at the entire body and the picture of your physical body. When you do Sanyama on that, then you get the capacity to vanish. That is Antardhana Sutra. So like that, various dimensions have been talked about. It's most fascinating. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi had started working on this levitational aspect and these dimensions, and that he was trying to do the Utkranti, Udanadya, then these things, Akashagamanam, Kaya Akasambat, like this had been put. So all these things have been put. Ultimately, there is a dimension in which you get all the Ashtasiddhis, you know. And what are those Ashtasiddhis? You know, that is the dimensions called as Anima, becoming very, very small. You know, the whole body becomes very, very small. Mahima becomes very, very, very big. Laghima becomes very light. Garima becomes very, very heavy. Then Prapti, that is getting the power to get whatever you want. Prakamya, Prapti or similarity. Then Vashitva, control on others. And Ishitva is the complete capacity to create the whole universe. These are the Ashtasiddhis. Where the great example is Hanuman, who had this thing in Ramayana, it comes so clearly. It is not only such great personalities, Rama or Krishna or Hanuman, we had great Saptarshis, Agastya, who was able to drink the whole ocean, as it is said. And such are the tremendous capacities that human beings can get when they expand themselves into the levels of Vijnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. We have Yukteswara Giri, Lahari Mahashaya, and greatest of the masters. In our country, such great masters came again and again. Sant Gnandev from Maharashtra, Shankaracharya from Kerala, and large number of Siddhas from Tamil Nadu, and large number of Hatha Yoga masters from Madhya Pradesh, and we have Guru Nanak from Punjab, and we had Swaminarayan from Gujarat. Such is the tremendous people who came with various dimensions of Ashtasiddhis to prove the efficacy. But today in the modern world, we have to see such things are brought forth and understood better. Ultimately, what should happen? Even you must have complete vairagya for even these siddhis. That is the goal that has been talked about. That's called the highest vairagya. When the person stays in continual awareness of Purusha, then the total vairagya occurs. And that is what has been talked about in the seventh mantra. Nanta pragnam na bahishpragnam, no bhayata pragnam na pragnana ghanam, na pragnam na pragnam, adrishyam avyavaharyam, achintyam alakshanam avyapadesham, ekatma pratyayasaram, prapanchopashamam shantam shivam advaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma savigneyaha. That which is beyond space, time, causation, that which is beyond mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, and that is the state of absolute purity, state of pure consciousness that has been talked about, and that's the one that one had to do. We'll take up this in the next session that we are going to have. It is a state of pure consciousness. It is beyond Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. In Sushupti, we have deep sleep and also Samadhi state. So, because in all the Sushupti and Samadhi states also, the three gunas exist. And we have to go beyond the gunas. You know? And therefore, it is Nanta Prajna. It is not the dream state. It is not the wakeful state. It is neither the dual state, consciousness. It is pure consciousness. Na Pragnam. It is not the region of known. Na Apragnam. It is not the state of region of unknown. Na Pragnana Ghanam. It is not deep sleep. It is not Samadhi. And that's our original state. Prapanchopashamam. It is a state of absolute silencing of all the worlds. Shantam, it is peace, state of absolute peace. Shivam, auspiciousness. Advaitam, non-dual. Atma, self. Vigneyaha, that has to be realized. Ultimately, the goal of yoga is to move from Jivatma to become the Paramatma. Paramatma is the state, ultimate reality. That is the yoga, the science of expansion of consciousness, which we have to expand ourselves from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Koshas, and reach the highest level of achievement. That's what the Mandukya talks about. And we'll take up this sutra in the next class. Thank you. With that, we'll close today's session with the Shanti Mantra as usual. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are two types of samadhi. Good question. What is the difference between epsilon is very, very slow waves, less than 0.5 hertz. You cannot even measure with EEGs. And that is a nirvikara, nirvitarka. No, vichara, vitarka, ananda, smita, anugamat, 4. They are all these savitarka. That is the sampragnat samadhis. Then we have sampragnat samadhis or anded. That is vichara is nirvichara. Vitarka is nirvitarka. Asmita anugata asampragnat samadhi. So asampragnat samadhi is talked about in the epsilon. Whereas the other dimension of the high things, that is the Savitarka and other, in which that's the lambda waves. So lambda waves are here and these are here.
But why these frequency ranges are so different? Frequency ranges, this will be very close, right? No?
No. Once you get your thoughts, you can go very fast. Thinking you can do. Immediately you can get capacity. You must be able to go very fast, like Hanuman went with the mind speed there. You must have the mind speed. At the same time, you should be able to keep quiet, absolutely silent. So when you go into this thing, it is the Nirvikalpa and the Nirvitarka, Nirvichara. Other one is Vichara, the highest capacity.
So they are at high frequency. High frequency.
Very high frequency. Very high frequency.
I didn't know this difference.
That's what I was also understanding on this thing. That's the beauty of that.
Very interesting. Okay, so that time the mind, if you want, the thinking can become very fast.
Time is 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ ಭಜನೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಈಗ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡೋದು. Okay, thank you, all of you. Nagaraj, nice seeing you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sonia ji, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Good.